As we go on now to part 3 of chapter 2, continuing graphing, I thought we might take a moment to do some reviews of formulas. So I'm going to go to the whiteboard and ask you to fill these formulas in. Okay, what I'd like you to do is pause it here, and then what you're going to do is write the standard form of the linear equation in two variables and slope-intercept, the slope formula, point slope, formula for a horizontal line, formula for a vertical line, and then give the parameters for lines that are parallel and lines that are perpendicular. We'll pause here for a moment and then check it out. Continuing our review then, check this out. How did you do? Again, these are important formulas for this chapter, and you should be familiar with them. So we'll pause here for a moment. We've gone over these before in our flipped classroom lesson. And of course, questions to your instructor if you're not sure of something. Starting with this then, item number 1, determine if the following equation is linear. Well, generally something is linear if your x values and your y values are to the first power. Once they go to the second power, then they're no longer linear, they're quadratic. Okay, and they want us to put it in what form? This is standard form. So what we do here is we clear parentheses, 11x plus just y plus x equals 5. So all we need to do here is combine like terms. There's a 1 there, so this becomes 12x plus y equals 5. It's linear and now in standard form. Item number 2, consider the following equation. Find the x and y intercepts if possible. Okay, so for this, we have to put it in standard form. So our 2x is there. I'm going to bring the y over to this side as a positive 2y. And my 10 over to this side where it becomes a negative 10. So this side becomes 0. So this is now in standard form. Now, what we will do to find the x and y intercepts is use that t-chart. And an interesting thing happens. When x is 0, we have 2y equals 0, so y is 0. And I meant to put a 0 there. So that when y is 0, x is 0. So we're going to graph this here shortly. But I wanted to show you the technique of finding the x and y intercepts as a review item. Now what we want to do is put some other points up there. If x, let's say, is 2, what will y be? Well, if x is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 2y equals 0. We transpose the 4, that becomes a negative 4. And 2y equals negative 4, divide both sides by 2. We get y equals a negative 2. And that is the pattern that will actually go on. If x is a negative 2, y becomes a positive 2. So now we have some points, and let's do some graphing. I'll raise this up a little bit, and we will clear up this a little. Many of the examples I'll be featuring here are in multi-steps. So step 2 would be to graph this. That's why we put the graph there. So putting a point on the origin is right there. And then a 2 and a negative 2. So over 2, down 2. And then for our next point, negative 2, up 2. So we're going to get a straight line that looks like that going through the origin. One of the questions we sometimes ask is how many points are on a line? And the answer is there's an infinite number of points along the line. We need at least 2 generally to draw a straight line, and 3 to give it perhaps greater accuracy in sketching. Here we've formed a graph, and you can use your ID cards as a straight edge. As we go on to item 3 now, it says, look at this, is it linear, and then put it in standard form. Well, right away we see y to the second, so we're wondering, is it in fact linear? But again, you have to put it in standard form, or at least get rid of the parentheses before you make that observation. So here we're asked to square this binomial. I'm just going to rewrite it. Y minus 9, the quantity squared, which I'm allowed to do. I can switch these around. Minus y squared equals negative 11x plus 8. So I'm going to square this binomial, square the first term, I get y squared. Multiply these two together, I get a negative 9 doublet, negative 18y. Square my negative 9, I get a positive 81. Y squared equals a negative 18x plus 8. Now notice what happens here. I have y squared minus y squared. So the y squares just disappear. So I have then in fact a linear equation. So now it's just a matter of putting all my variables on the left side. Bring this negative 11x over to this side as a positive 11x. I have a negative 18y. And now bringing this 81 over to this other side gives me a negative 73. Okay, this was sort of a short lesson. Some of the others are going to be a tad longer. But again, the review of our skills of formulas relating to graphing, that is a very worthwhile background item.